friends, it's Rana, and today we will talk about the worst books I read in the year 2023. But let's look at the bright side. I didn't rate any books 1 star this year, which is shocking and amazing at the same time because I usually rate a few books 1 star every year, but it seems like I am getting good at knowing what to pick and choose to read and what I know I'm gonna like and when to DNF books. That's why I gave no books 1 star this year, but I gave a good number of books 2 stars. That's why we are here today to talk about them. But I didn't want to rant about these books for so long, so I was inspired by this idea on BookTube where I have to review or rant about the book in less than 1 minute. I never done that before, so let's see how chaotic this gonna be. And disclaimer, this video doesn't have any disclaimers. I don't really care if you take offense of my opinion in books, the books I hated, and my rant reviews. It is your problem if you take offense that other people hate the books you love. It's not mine. So I'll have an alarm on my mobile phone for 1 minute, and after the 1 minute is down, there will be a loud noise, an alarm to tell me that the time is up and I have to stop ranting about the book. So the first book we have is a classic, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This book is so boring, and I read so many boring books in my life, but this one is at the top of that list. It talks about an old man who wants to catch a fish or for some reason or another, and he talks about wanting to go and catch it and the journey to the sea and whatever. I couldn't read it with my own eyeballs because it was so boring and tedious. I listened to the audiobook at double the speed and I deleted it from my memory the moment the audiobook ended because I hated it. It was so boring and tedious. I couldn't bear to focus on the story, and nothing important was happening. So don't waste your time with this book. You can go pick another classic book to read because it is a waste of time, and I don't want to hear anyone say that it has a message behind it, a theme, an idea. It is so stressful to talk about the book in less than a minute, but I'm gonna try. The next book we have is Hunger by Michael Grant. This is like the third book in the Gun series by Michael Grant. It is a YA/middle grade series talking about a word, our modern world, where adults suddenly and out of nowhere disappear and we don't know how and why or where did they go, and only children under the age of 14 or 16, I'm not quite sure exactly, remain. And 3 books in and we still don't know what happened, and we don't have some answers. At least some children turned to have some superpowers and they weren't even explored that much. The book was just annoying kids whining and fighting each other to see who gonna dominate them all and who gonna be the leader, the alpha of the children. And it was so annoying and boring, and I didn't want to continue the series because it was so repetitive. Okay, that's it for this book. It doesn't need to be talked about more than that because I really was disappointed by it, so let's stop here. The next book we have is A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Millerman. I loved Josh Millerman's other book, Bird Box, and I wanted to feel that horror, that fear, that unease I felt the first time I read Bird Box. But this book, even though I have a fear of deep water and I'm not a great swimmer, I'm not even good at swimming, I didn't feel any scared reading this book, even though it talks about a girl and boy exploring a lake that turned out has a house in it, and they go underneath the water to explore it, and they stay a long time underwater, and you are supposed to feel claustrophobic by the water and the fear of drowning, but I didn't feel any of that. I kept yawning, and I have a fear of deep water. Imagine that. So I was very let down by this book and very confused at the ending. Like, what was that exactly? I will be very hesitant to pick anything else by Josh Millerman outside of the Bird Box series. But if you have a book recommendation written by Josh Millerman that is similar to Bird Box, please let me know. The next book we have is The Testament by Josh Grisham. This book, it has a good premise and it started so well, but then went downhill so damn fast. It first started with a millionaire who like changed his will at the last minute, then jumped from a building, committing suicide or killing himself, and leaving all of his money, none not to any of his present children when he wrote his will or changed it the first and second time, but for a child from previous marriage that he never saw in decades and no one knows where she is. So he leave all of his fortune to her, and a lawyer get assigned to go and look for her and convince her to take all that money that were left for her. And she is like in the middle of a jungle in South America. Good premise, I know, but it turned into a Christian preaching propaganda with a very abrupt ending. Let me finish the sentence. It is like John Grisham didn't know where to go with the story, so he kept going and going and going, then decided to, okay, that's enough, let's stop here with a very unsatisfying and abrupt ending. The next book we have is Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. I don't have much to say about this book. It is a poetry collection book and I didn't enjoy it. It turned out to be not my style of poetry I prefer. It was too long and American for my taste, and it is my fault, I know. I should have at least read like a page or two of it before I purchased it, but that's what happened, and I probably will unhaul it, even though I really love this edition of it. And it is really weird because most of the older poetry I read I enjoy. This one is considered older, not modern poetry, and I ended up not enjoying. Maybe because it is too American for my taste. I prefer British poetry. I don't have much else to say, so let's stop the timer. The next book we have is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. This book, I ranted a lot about it in my latest wrap-up video, but in short, let's rant about it one more time in less than 1 minute. This book is a historical fiction book, very long one, set in the 18th or 16th, 14th, I don't know which century in England. I believe 14th century England, and it talks about the idea of building a cathedral, but it is so damn long and annoying characters, very unlikable characters, and I hated the way women were depicted in this book. They were either depicted as weak, dumb, or victims of SA, and it was so monotonous and repetitive. I didn't enjoy it at all, even though I was predicting that I'm gonna give it 5 stars, and it turned out very completely different from what I wanted it to be. That scared me. The next book we have is Evil Eye by Etaf Rum. So this book is another case of me reading a previous book by the author, loving it, and wanting to read something more. And I read her first book, A Woman Is No Man, and I loved that book. So I was so excited to pick this one. And I despised it. It talks about an Arab woman who is living in America, has a wife, a husband, and 2 kids, and she has a stable job and everything. And suddenly she hears a racist comment and she wakes up and thinks like, yeah, I am oppressed Middle Eastern woman. Let me fight my husband, let me argue with him and destroy my family and get divorced. It doesn't really make sense. I really hated it. Like her first book, A Woman Is No Man, yes, it talks about the oppression of Middle Eastern women in a way that it talks and deals with that subject, giving example of, let me finish this one, just this one, of inspired by real women's lives. This one felt like her publisher saw the success of her first book and asked her to write something similar to sell more books, and which is unfortunate, but because let's Arab American women write something else other than the oppression of Middle Eastern women, because let's, for once, for a change, write about the success and achievements of us instead of what shit things Arab Middle Eastern women go through. The next book we have is Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. I don't have much to say about this book. I also ranted about it in my previous wrap-up video, but this one talks about a woman who lost her child in a car accident, and it is so boring, very short, but very boring, and it is, I'm sorry to say that, but it is a Pet Cemetery wannabe, and it didn't live up to that and didn't even reach half what is Pet Cemetery. I don't know why people love this book so much. I know it talks about grief, but not every book talking about grief is a good book. Let's leave our emotions to the side. It is not a really good book. It is very average book. I don't have nothing else to say about it, so let's stop here. The next book we have is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. Again, I read the book by this author, loved it, thought that this author might be a new favorite author of mine, so I picked another book by them, and it turned out to be trash. This book is very predictable. I'm not gonna talk about what is it about, but it is very predictable, childish, full of cliches. Oh my god, this book was so full of cliches. I can't believe it. And the ending was so predictable. The twist at the ending I saw from miles and miles away. I don't know why the author decided to pick that plot twist, because it was done so many times before. And I was disappointed again. Another author I thought they are a favorite or gonna be a favorite, and turned out to be just like one time wonder for me. Yeah, I loved her book. What was it called? Monday's Not Coming. That book was amazing. This one, not even close. And the last book we have is The Bookseller of Kabul by Asni Thirstad. This book, another book that I thought I'm gonna love. Like, I'm not going around reading books I'm gonna hate, but this book I really thought I'm gonna enjoy. Talks about this white woman. I can't remember where she is from exactly. And she goes to Afghanistan, live a few months with this family who, the head of the family owns a bookshop, and she lives with them and his two wives and children, and she talks about their lives and whatever. And to be honest, I felt that this book was full of condescending undertone, a racist undertone. Like, she presented these people as ignorant, evil, I don't know, full of really bad things, and not one good thing she mentioned about them. All of these things were so bad and made us, the readers, hate them. And I can't believe that, let's continue again. I can't believe that people that let a foreign woman, a stranger, live with them for months are that horrible. Like, nothing about them was good. Were they rotten to the core? I don't know. I just didn't like her tone in this book, and the way she presented the stories was really choppy and bad. So these are all the books I hated in the year 2023. That was quick and easy. Quick, but not easy, because I felt like I was running, trying to say everything I wanted in less than a minute. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I liked this idea. I may try it again, but I felt like 1 minute is a little bit too short. I never felt like a minute is this short before. Please tell me in the comments what was the worst book that you read in 2023 and why. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to see my future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!